So listen up. Every single person in this world is going to come along at death at some point in time. It may be mom, dad, grandma, could be you, could be someone else around you. And if you die in Florida, you need to know about probate because you should try to avoid probate. And you can avoid probate. A key theme that runs throughout everything I do here is to save consumers money, is for you not to hire me as a lawyer. Frankly, you not to hire anybody as a lawyer. And probate's one of the real clear ways that you could absolutely avoid paying a lawyer anything. If you get proper legal advice at the front end, good estate planning, then you can not pay any probate fees at all. You can avoid it. But the key secret here is where people really end up blowing most money is when they try to do estate planning themselves. They go online, they look at some seminar, they go online, they pull down some form, and it's just not done properly. One of the biggest problems out there in probate is that people go online, they grab these forms make it seem like it's really simple, plug and chug, and boom, you're done. And that's just not true. And any good probate lawyer, a good rich probate lawyer, will tell you that where probate lawyers make the most amount of money is when someone's gone onto one of these sites, they've filled out one of those forms, and it just completely clashes with the law on probate, the law on wills, the law on trusts. And the laws are in place for a very good reason. The laws establish some really clear protections for things like spouses and for minor children and for creditors. And what happens is in many of these online sites, consumer sites, what they are trying to do in those sites is ignore Florida law, avoid Florida law, avoid rights and responsibilities for spouses, for kids, for creditors, all these other things. And when that is done, that's when lawyers make the most amount of money, because the person over here cheaped out, didn't do the will properly, tried to avoid a creditor, a spouse, a minor kid, or something like that. And then you got the donor class down here that's fighting over that, and in many cases, rightly so. And doing so is very, very expensive. Most lawyers will tell you that the cases where they've made the most amount of money is when you got two good people on either side of a probate, and both of them probably have some kind of decent argument. It's rare that the cases where lots and lots of money is spent on lawyers is because you got one person just taking a completely aberrant position. I think in most cases, one person's fighting over what they think the deceased wanted. This person over here is fighting over what they think the deceased wanted. And that sets up a situation where over and over again, you hear out of these people them say, I don't care what, I pay you, the lawyer, as long as she doesn't get it, as long as he doesn't get it. And you hear that over and over and over again. One little anecdotal story. Years and years ago, decades ago, in fact, I remember going into court, and my client was really angry about the amount of money that was being asked for in the probate for the lawyer over here. And on the other side, this one was a little pissed off at this one over here about the amount of money that was going to the probate lawyers. So I was really the champion for my client. I was really in there, carrying that argument. And I'll never forget walking in front of the judge, and the judge is still around, and I still see him. And every single time I see him, I remind him of this, and he remembers it, and so does the lawyer on the other side. We walk into this hearing room, and I'm indignant, pounding on the table, and then just pounding on the facts. And the judge looked at me, and he goes, Mr. Weidner, you're arguing about all these attorney's fees and how much are being charged. Maybe the problem is you're not charging enough. I kind of sat back a little bit. Again, this was decades ago. I still remember it to this day. The point that judge was making was that in these fights in probate over attorney's fees, these are largely self-inflicted wounds. And unsolving the problem does cost money, does cost time. And there's very little sympathy, frankly, in the courts for the amount of money that's spent in these situations. So I'm going to get more into that. That anecdote right there is enough for a whole long story. But what I'm going to do here is introduce this website that I created a long time ago, decade ago, I guess, about the Florida Probate Rules. And I did one for every other rule, family rules and criminal rules and civil rules. But what I'm really going to be dialing into in a series of videos are the rules. It's part of my objective here to demystify the probate process, to democratize the probate process. I'm going to explain each of the probate rules. I'm going to explain to you in the method of tools. Giving you this rules, FloridaRules.net, is like giving you a tool, a hammer, a nail, or more sophisticated tool, and having you get the opportunity to use that tool. But like any tool, it's only useful in the hands of someone that's skilled, knows how to use the tool. So you can give everybody a complex welding machine, but when the job gets tough, you got to have skill to use that welder, and it's years and decades spent using it, and that's what the rules are. But you, as a client, as a consumer that may be interacting in the probate process somehow, need to know what those rules are. And one of the most effective ways that this site is used is for my clients to be able to understand what the rules are. It helps to explain to the client why the time is taking the way it is, why it's playing out in time. There's some tricks about it that I continue to learn every day. Again, 25 plus years of doing this, I still come across things that I don't understand, or that kind of open my eyes to things. And I love it when a client looks at it and says, hey, 1.510, it says we can do this. And I go, well, gee whiz, I never thought about that way. It's another secret about probate that I find fascinating, refreshing, exciting. And that is, there are very few appellate cases about probate rules, which is fascinating, right? So people have been dying around this state for a good long time, a couple hundred years maybe. And these rules have existed for a good long time, a couple hundred years maybe. But the vast majority of these rules have absolutely no appellate cases. And what an appellate case does is take a rule that's black and white, and anytime something's black and white, couple sentences long, there are always varying interpretations of it. What an appeals court case does is it takes a simple rule, and then it takes a unique set of facts that are part of that case, and then you got three bright judges. An appellate panel is three judges in the state of Florida. They take the rule, they take the facts, and they go back and forth with them, and they explain the facts, and they explain the rule, and they unpack it, and they twist it back and forth, and then at the end, what we get is an opinion that says, this is what that rule really means. And then what I got to do as a lawyer, no facts are always the same. Like, no facts in a case are ever the same. But the job of an appellate opinion is, hey, dude, judge, not dude. Hey, dude, judge. This case that's in front of you right now that I'm arguing is very similar to this appellate case right now. And I'm respectfully saying to you, judge, that you have to look at this case and apply this case and the rules in this case, or the interpretation of the rule in this case, to my particular set of facts. Now, we got a good lawyer on the other side, and that lawyer comes in with another case, and he says, Judge, hold on just a second. I know Weidner gave you that case, and it's a good case, but my case is better. It's more directly aligned with the facts of this particular case that's before you. And then what the guy or the girl in the funny black dress, that's what we like to say, but it's the robe, right? So when the judge that's in the robe is sitting up there, judge takes both of those cases, looks at the facts, and then renders an opinion based upon that. I'm going to talk a lot about that trial and appellate, how it works in probate cases. But the most important thing here is to look at this rules website. You're going to see it evolving and building over the next couple weeks here. We're starting with the rules bluntly, but then very quickly you're going to see me explaining absolutely every single rule. And then behind that, I'm going to go and grab every single appellate case for every single rule, so that in this one universe, you will have undisputably every single question to probate answered for you. It's going to make you a powerful consumer, a resource in your community. And again, I hope primarily it helps you to have a better perspective on lawyers, the legal system, and what we do to serve you and the community.